If you regularly find yourself browsing the English teaching side of YouTube, you have probably already seen there's a lot of advice about how you can understand native English speakers, which of course is a big challenge in and of itself, but there's the other side of the coin as well. Have you ever asked yourself, can native English speakers understand me when I speak? Do people easily understand exactly what I mean when I speak? Does my pronunciation ever get in the way of communication? I'm a language learner myself. I live in Spain, and this is something that I think about all the time. Here's a comment a viewer left in one of our recent videos. Do native speakers understand me? This is the main question that I'm struggling with in my mind. I already practice speaking with my friends, but I mess up all the things while speaking. I'm sure this lesson would be a great solution to improve my speaking. In this lesson, we're going to explore this topic together. What is it that causes a breakdown in communication? We're going to look into what could be supporting a language barrier between you and the person you're speaking to, and of course, how to bring it down once and for all. Because here at Real Life English, we guide you through your frustrations while learning English so that you can understand and be understood by anyone to allow you to connect to the world. Just like Tamano, who says that before she did not understand native speakers, but now can understand them. So to continue learning with us and be notified when we have a new lesson, make sure you hit the subscribe button and bell down below. In this video, we'll explore challenges, something that doesn't have anything to do with you, but rather it's an attitude that certain native speakers might have and how you should react to it. Next, we'll talk about pronunciation. Is it holding you back? Paraphrasing and discourse markers, elements of communication. So, let's start by stepping back and having a look at the challenges we might be facing that contribute to the language barrier. There are a few things like the fear of making mistakes. One of our students from the Fluency Circle said this: "Sometimes it takes a lot of courage to speak in English, especially when I'm speaking or sharing my thoughts during discussions in meetings, and I see people who are really good at grammar. Sometimes I don't share my thoughts because I don't want to be embarrassed in front of them." Can you relate to that? Do you feel the same way? A lot has been written about second language anxiety and the debilitating effect it has on your speaking. It's a very real thing that contributes to the language barrier. Now, in my opinion, there are two ways you work on this. Let's say it's a spectrum where you have English with mistakes here and the perfect English here. So the roadmap to success seems simple enough. Just work on your grammar and you're going to advance towards perfect English. Well, it's not that simple. There's this other spectrum where on one end you have fear and on the other you have confidence. It's not that you need to take this big leap and all of a sudden be super confident, but just with small baby steps, you can put some distance between you and that state of fear and get closer to confidence. When you do this, you can now stop feeling bad about your mistakes and instead use them to your advantage and learn from them. This way, you gain confidence, but not in a way that will allow you to be an absolute extroverted person, just the necessary level of confidence that will allow you to be yourself, be present, and enjoy the English-speaking situation. This is how you gain empowerment and your English becomes better. You will make fewer mistakes. People will understand you more. Hadar from The Accents Way shared some similar thoughts about this when we interviewed her on Beyond Borders.
Positive thoughts generate positive feelings, and positive feelings lead to take action. It's easier to take action when you feel better than when you feel depressed or insecure. So when you're insecure and you allow those thoughts to consume you, you are less likely to take real action that will actually change the results in your life. So when you're positive, you actually take action and you dare more.
When you have more confidence, you speak more. Someone said, it's not surprising that practicing talking can make you better at talking. So this is a rather amusing quote because it's so obvious, yet sometimes us language learners need to be reminded of it. After watching this video, go watch this other one here where I talk about the 3 activities that you need to learn English better. Other challenges that you might be facing are learning English is a lengthy process, and so what do I say to this? Be patient and compassionate with yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say, right? You might be lacking proper support. It's a lot easier to learn being part of a community of learners that are on the same journey. You might have limited opportunities. You can become part of a community and have more opportunities to speak, for example, with the app we've developed. With the Real Life English app, you will not only be able to practice your listening skills by listening to our podcast with the transcript, but you'll also be able to connect to other English learners from all around the world and practice your speaking while discovering other cultures in fun, dynamic, short conversations. The best part, it's absolutely free. So download it now by clicking this link or the one down in the description, or just search Real Life English in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. I look forward to seeing you there. Now, let's move on to the next section where I want to talk about the attitude of certain native speakers and also about your mindset. You might be able to relate to this more if you live in an English-speaking country or work in a company where English is the main spoken language. I actually just want to touch on this very briefly because it's rather a sad part of reality. On the other hand, I do want to focus on your mindset and how to react to it when or if this happens. One major reason that native English speakers don't understand you doesn't have anything to do with you. The reality is that it might depend on how much attention a native English speaker is willing to devote to understand you, and also on how far from their normal experience of English your speaking is. Some people are simply closed-minded and they might even not like the sound of a foreign accent. We live in a globalized world and understanding is a two-way street. It's not only your job to learn how to understand native English speakers, it's also their job to learn to understand a foreign accent. If you spend time in online forums about learning English or other languages, it's very unlikely you'll encounter people with a negative reaction to foreign accents. But going back to the unfortunate event of you possibly having to deal with a closed-minded person, my advice is that you develop what we call a thick skin or to be thick-skinned. This means you're not bothered by criticism and you're mentally tough. When you deal with a situation where you're mocked, maybe because your pronunciation isn't perfect, the question ultimately is, what is in your power to change? You can't change what someone might think about you, but you have control over how you can react to a negative experience like that. Also, if you recognize the areas of your English that you can work on and take action, you possess a mindset that allows you to grow. This leads me to my next point about your mindset. In case you don't know, mindset is your general attitude and the way in which you think about things and make decisions. There's something that psychologists call growth mindset. People with a growth mindset believe talent comes through effort. They believe anyone can be good at anything, that their abilities can be developed through dedication, perseverance, and the right strategy. They believe in the power of yet. They'll say, I'm not there yet, which means I have not achieved a certain level at something, but one day I will. I know this because I'll work hard for it. An English learner with a growth mindset will say things like, I can do it if I try hard enough. How can I learn from my mistakes? A learner with a growth mindset usually views failures as a learning opportunity, a challenge as a chance to grow, and feedback as a constructive way to improve. When you see things through the lenses of growth, you see effort as an essential ingredient on the path to mastery. When you see others do great things with their English, you find inspiration in them, and you think about what lessons you could take from their success. If you'd like to learn more about growth mindset and the immense impact it can have on your learning and your life, check out the lesson I made on the topic by watching it next. I'll link it up here and down in the description. My next point is, could pronunciation be holding you back? We all know the pronunciation of English isn't easy. When you learn English, you have to master its intonation patterns, but sometimes the intonation patterns of your first language get in the way. And you might say it with a certain melody or rhythm or stress patterns that are different from what people expect to hear. So there are 3 key aspects of pronunciation that you need to master if you want to be more fluent in English and in that way be better understood. These are rhythm, intonation, stress, and connected speech. Rhythm is the speed and cadence of how you say a sentence. For example, don't say each word at the same speed. Now, the rhythm of English might be very different to the rhythm of your native language, so it's important to learn the unique rhythm of English. Think of rhythm as syllables and a beat. So if the rhythm is made up of beats, intonation is the melody of the language. You can learn more about the different patterns of intonation, stress, and connected speech in this video. Paraphrasing and discourse markers. You can think of fluency as smooth, rapid, effortless use of language, and natural language use, or language that is spoken easily and without many pauses. I also usually like to explain it as when you're fluent, you don't get stuck. When you don't know a word or how to say something, you have the capacity to explain it in another way so the person can understand you. This is basically what paraphrasing is. Not knowing a word that is key for the message you're trying to communicate is going to break the conversation. However, that won't happen if you know how to work your way around it. For example, you might describe a profession by saying, the person who works in a hospital and helps a doctor. The other person then will know you're talking about a nurse. Maybe I'll say, the place where people go when they want to buy things. Oh, I know what you mean, a store. No, it's bigger and you can buy all kinds of different things there, especially food. Oh, a supermarket. Give this video a like if you want a dedicated lesson on paraphrasing, which is a super important skill for English learners. So while paraphrasing allows you to describe a word that you can't remember at a certain moment, discourse markers help you connect, organize, and manage what you say. They can help you convey subtle details and show the listener how to interpret what the speaker is saying. Common discourse markers are well, so, look, kind of, like, all right, you know, anyway, actually, now, I mean. There's so much a part of fluent speech that it's hard to imagine a fluent speaker that doesn't use them. We have a very entertaining lesson on Learn English with TV series, so if you want to learn more about that, I recommend you check it out after this lesson. Elements of communication. My 5th and last point is about communication. What does it take to communicate with another person? One thing you'll find is that we communicate much more than with our words. In face-to-face communication, our words are only part of the message. This is not so much related to the fact that you're speaking English as a second language as the previous points, because communication goes beyond the use of words. However, it can be what helps you or assists you in your efforts to get your message across. Many studies point out that non-verbal aspects of communication, such as tone of voice and gestures, communicate more than words that are spoken. Here's a demonstration on how tone changes the meaning of a sentence completely. I'll say a sentence 7 times and each time I'll emphasize a different word. Because of this, the meaning of the sentence changes. I didn't say he borrowed my book. She did. I didn't say he borrowed my book. This is not true. I didn't say he borrowed my book. I said something else. I didn't say he borrowed my book. She did. I didn't say he borrowed my book. He outright took it without asking. I didn't say he borrowed my book. He borrowed your book. I didn't say he borrowed my book. He borrowed my notebook. The other major non-verbal way in which we communicate is through our body language. It's easy to not think about what we're saying with our body, but it plays a huge role on how we say something. This includes facial expressions, the way we're standing or sitting, gestures with our arms or hands, eye contact or lack thereof, blushing, fidgeting. The great thing about body language is, as a second language speaker, is that you can use it as a tool that helps you compensate for something you can't express well with words. Here's some of the biggest takeaways from this video. Don't be afraid of mistakes, learn from them. This way you can improve and be a confident English speaker. Build a thick skin. If someone mocks you for your pronunciation, don't let it bring you down. Have a growth mindset by practicing dedication and perseverance. Paraphrase when you can't remember a word and use discourse markers to convey more subtle details, as well as to organize and manage what you say. Remember that words aren't everything. Tone and body language are also important. Lastly, if pronunciation is holding you back, work on your rhythm, intonation, stress, and connected speech. In fact, I'm going to invite you to watch this lesson where we go deep into this topic. In that lesson, I talk about the role pronunciation has in connected speech and whether or not accent matters.
What's up everyone? Today we're talking all about fluency, and I have a question for you. Is bad pronunciation killing your fluency? Imagine being fluent in English as a checkbox list, and in a rather simplistic way, we need to check the boxes of vocabulary, so you can use a wide variety of words that are appropriate in that situation. And grammar, you can organize your ideas into sentences using the correct form, tense, and so on. But when it comes to developing advanced fluency, you feel that your pronunciation is holding you back.